Hello and welcome everybody to the new session of the Nine Life Energy podcast. My name is Marina and I'm pleased to be your new host in this incredible journey of discovery and transformation. And I'm even more honored to have with me Morten and Paolo. So let's just start with you to introduce yourself. It's your podcast, Morten. I believe many people know and heard about you, but I still want you to introduce yourself, tell some words what we're going to do today, and maybe some another kind of way of introducing yourself, something people don't know about you.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, Paolo Scoglio and Marina Larsen for doing this new way of a podcast. It's incredible cool that we have Marina that's the host, and it's very cool that we have Paolo because he has so much knowledge about nine life energy, trauma work, and about transformation. He is a transformation person, so it's incredible cool to have him on board. So this podcast, Dare to Change, is a new way of doing it. We're going to tune more into the nine life energies and all the work we're doing around that. So in our old podcast, which has been around 32,000 people or 32,000 listener, maybe some of them are the same. I've been into my podcast. Now we are doing a new season, a new way of doing it. And it's going to be all about nine life energy and how we transform, and of course, the trauma work and bringing this knowledge out in the world in a new and understandable way. If you want me to say something about myself, I have just been starting up a new retreat center here in Norway in the woods. And it's a platform with tents, big, beautiful tents. And we have making the food outside. We have campfires in the evening. We have a place here where I can host, or 16 people can come and stay here. I had a friend of me yesterday came by and he was eating the truffle pizza, and he was like, he almost passed off because it was so good. So that's what we do now. And we are, of course, on a big journey this winter. We're going to Italy. So there is so much to talk about, but I think I will stop now and then let Paolo introduce himself.
Thank you, Morten. Thank you, Marina. It's a pleasure to be here and talk to you and be on the podcast. I live in Beverly, Massachusetts, and I had to close the window because someone is putting new gutters on the house next door. Uh, so yeah, I'm very interested in Nine Life Energies and hope to help Nine Life Energies move out into the world. And anything else? I have two kayaks that I haven't used at all this year yet. Because I've been occupied with writing with Morten.
And this is actually why we are here as well today, is to talk more about the document, about this incredible job you have done. And that's why it's so important to bring it out into the world. Like you said, Paul, I believe Morten and me as well want to do everything so as much people as possible will know about nine life energies, nine types of people out there so they can really improve and change their life. I have been deeply fascinated by Nine Life Energies because they have profoundly changed my life. And through this learning, I have gained a deep understanding of myself and others. I remember when I came to you, Morten, in the woods, and I was like, who am I? I don't know who am I. I'm already 30 years old and I still don't know who am I. So for me to find out that I'm life energy too, it's like it was really game changing is to get to know me, that I'm a person who's really get engaged with people, love it. I love eye contact and really understood, and it made so much quality in my relationship with the eye contact, to understand my children as well, and to understand for me that for me to be in the dynamic moment is the way I really activate myself and body. So really, really appreciate the work and thank you so much. So it was like, I think it was a good introduction. So maybe we should like really start to dig in. I would love to today is to go deeper in what Nine Life Energy is, so listeners will understand more what Nine Life Energy is about. And I have
I
some.
want to say, I want to interrupt. I want to say something about you, Marina, because this is actually what this work is about, that we have people together with us who are so dedicated like you are. It's a huge honor. You came down from heaven like a gift. For me, I needed a person to help me because it's so much work. I have Polo, we are doing our best. I have other people in the community, but receiving you as a gift, because you said to me, I'm going to learn this. I'm 100% dedicated. So I want to be a part of your company and I'm going to use all my time to learn this. And I want you to tell me what I do wrong and I want you to tell me what I do right. And I'm willing to do whatever it costs to learn this.
That's true, and I still didn't regret it, and I want to learn more. And my journey just started, and I really appreciate time to work with you. And we are all to when we are all together with Paolo, it's a great time. So yes, thank you very much. It was very nice. So. Can you just briefly introduce, maybe we have some new listeners today, just briefly introduce the concept, the method of Nine Life Energies?
Do you want to start, Polo?
I could.
Or do you want me to start and then you fill in?
Well, we could just fill in with each other. Interrupt me at any time.
Yeah.
Nine Life Energies is about 9 different physiologies, 9 different kinds of human beings who have an array of gifts. Each type has a different set of gifts. And that different set of gifts impacts their way of perceiving the world and perceiving language. And that kind of difference explains why there are disagreements or why there are so many different perspectives in the world. Nine Life Energies teaches people how to embody all 9. So we have one that's naturally ours, and then we have a way of moving our body into a place where we're emulating a different energy. We're awakening a different energy in our body. And that's a very important part of the work, to be able to not just only enhance your own self, which improves your sense of your identity and your purpose, but to be able to enhance your awareness of all the other 9 so that you understand everybody in your family. Because everybody in the family, unless it's a huge family of more than 9 people, everybody's going to be different. And, parents will say, where did this kid come from? It's because they're a different energy.
Yeah. I have something else which every time we write and we talk about it, and every time something new is coming up of our journey, and so one of the things with the 9 Life Energies is that they are keys to transform your life. So there are 9 keys, and that's the 9 life energies. And when you use the 9 life energy, you can transform your life. And very early on in 2006, I got this bliss, or whatever we can call it, like a understanding that, and I think it was because I had difficulties to see the difference. So it was kind of a sidetrack that I started to dig into the numbers to see what they were about, to use them as a transformation tool. And today we can say, yes, it's super important to know who you are, and it's even, well, same importance as to know your family and friends. But it's also very important to use the 9, let's say 9 numbers in every specter of your life, so you can change it, because there is the key to our method, is to use the numbers, use the 9 life energy to transform.
And part of that transformation means that you're getting in your body, that you're experiencing your body in different ways, and sometimes like very profound different ways, so that it feels odd to you when you activate another energy that's not your own and you walk around. When I first did that, I was activating 5, and it was like, I'm not as stable on my feet.
Okay.
It was, and for me, I'm 7 and 5 is just up here, but just that change. I was in a labyrinth, and remember the labyrinth at the mother tree?
Yes, I remember that very well.
So it had mounds, and so I could walk it with my eyes closed, just experiencing the mounds on either side. And I could walk this labyrinth with my eyes closed, but not if I was activating 5. I had to keep my eyes open because I would fall over.
Cool. Very cool. Yes. Okay, Marina, I'm eager to answer your questions.
Yes, and you know what? I have with me the document. You've been working for a long time, like for a long time. I believe you've been working for a long time, but you started to write it maybe in summer, isn't it?
Mm.
And you are still working on it. Like Paulo was saying that he cannot sleep, he cannot eat, he just need to write more and more. So I believe
Well,
you are still
I
you're
thought it was
still
all done. And then I wake up in the morning and it's like, oh, there's 4 sections that we have to write and explain to people.
yes.
So now we got to do that.
But I really love that you, because I'm one of the student of yours, as we are a lot of students of yours, and we really love and appreciate the job you are doing with this document. Because the first time I was reading it, I was sitting like for 2 hours, and for me it was like a meditation, or just this feeling in my body. I could really sit down and calm down and just really just read and enjoy with this kind of depth into my body, into me, where was nothing could interrupt me, and I'm still reading like right while you are working on it, and it's, you know what, I can read one more time tomorrow and I will pick up something new, something more meaningful. So I can only imagine how it is for you. So maybe let's start with the name of the document. So the name of the document is The Quest, Living Within the Mystery, an explanation for current and future students of 9 Life Energy. Let's start by explaining for our listeners, what do you mean by quest?
Well, it's a transformational journey. The quest was when I first learned about my energy type, and I was at a leadership training program, and I saw 23 other people identified or activated in their energy. It was a powerful experience to see and to feel in my body that every time someone was identified, there was something powerful that happened that hit my body like a wave of energy. And a few hours later, I was like determined that I was going to learn this. And that was in 2002. And so I've been on a long journey, wanting to know more and more about this. And now there's this, it's like, okay, so I understand enough to be able to talk about it and write about it. And yet it's clear there's so much more. That's the mystery part, because every time you get into this very, very close space with someone else, and you drop all of your thinking and all of your judgments, and you just show up in an authentic way with another person, and then they become authentic, something happens. It's energetic, it's intense, and it's very comfortable all at the same time. And then if I do it again with the same person, like I was doing it with Marina, it would be different every time. So, go ahead.
Yeah. So the document has an interesting story, because we have been writing back and forth on a new book, me and Paolo, and that's been for sometimes a little bit boring and sometimes a little bit strange to take a book and translate it. So many times I'm going through old emails, and I go through old writings that we have done, and it was actually Paolo who sent me an email about
Pattern recognition.
Yeah, pattern recognition. And that email was probably a year or two old, and I always take care of the information, and I was looking back and I was reading the document, and I said, here is something. So I got super inspired, and I started to read it, and then I sent something back to Paul, and then he sent something back to me again, and it wasn't meant to be a big document. No, I think it's 47 pages or something.
It was going to be, it was 3 pages, and then it was like
it was 3-4 pages about
7
pattern
pages, and then it's 20 pages.
Yeah, and I was in the middle of the new teaching program, which is starting up now tomorrow, actually, and it's about the head energies in the inner circle program and inner circle program, and in step-by-step program they are getting into that later. But so I did a lot of investigation about, and Polo is a head type, which means that he has his center in the third eye. So he always has a lot of good ideas, and he has a lot of, and he's a very good writer. So I sent it back to him, and it started to be the quest. It became a quest for us too. And then we moved on. And the reason why I wanted it is because I wanted to try to explain why it is difficult to learn it and why it takes time.
And in the process, we would go back and forth, and he would say something, and it would inspire me, and I'd say, yes, we got to write that down. And then I would change or add to what he said. And then I'd have this other, well, I got to explain it with this. And then I'd come up with an example, and then I'd send that to him, and he would say, most of the time he would say, yes, that's very good. Once in a while he'd say, I'm not sure about that. Sometimes it would be too heady, or it would be a sidetrack. It would be information that you might want to read later, but not in this document, because it just moved the thread off to the side.
So Apollo's energy, life energy 7, is about bringing in new information from all kinds of experiences and all kinds of memories that he has. And it's like he has a lot of balloons that is held up, and sometimes he's dragged them down, and there is a lot of information there, and we open that balloon and he put it in, and I get super inspired. I am different.
It's
I'm,
wonderful.
I'm different. I'm getting into details, so I get so into details that I can talk about how the soul is functioning in the moment in front of another person, and then this thing that me and him does, that's what has created this document.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you very
And-
much. Yes, sorry.
Well, we learned about this a long time ago together, probably in 2003 or 2004 probably. And 5 and 6 in 2007. We were together for 9 years, I think, learning about this. And we didn't know how to put it all together because our teachers didn't know how to put it all together. They would teach us something, and then this seems to be related, but they didn't know how it was related. And they told us that. You know, we don't know how to teach you what we know how to do, but we'll teach you this and we'll teach you that. And so Morten, on his own, after 9 years, you were on your own quest and journey and developed the Ennead method and your own, 1,500 days of ritual in the woods to get yourself in your body in a new way. And then at some point you invited me to Norway to help you with a workshop, and then it was like, oh, this is great fun.
Well, I knew enough.
Yeah.
I had a starting point. It's like you're going down a slope with a slalom. You need to know where to start, and then it's easier to figure out where you're going to end in that journey. So I had enough learning from our incredible teacher, Mr. Alan Sheets, and he was just amazing to do exercise. It's a synergy of exercises you can do to be able to awaken the energy in the body and actually be able to hold them for a while. I think awakening the energy is one thing, but we are more focused today on how much are you able to hold it in the body. And in the beginning, I can count on my fingers how long you can be able to hold the energy of another than yourself. But after a while, you can do it for 3 minutes and 20 minutes and so on. So that's based on practice. So I knew enough, and I took that information with me, and then I decoded every single thing that I have been into those 9 years. I actually took all the books that we have used, and I was reading them, and I did like a engine. I put everything in pieces, and then I put it together again.
Mhm.
So I started to learn about the correlation between, there is so many things that happen, but there was a correlation between the numbers and the nature. And I learned a lot about numbers in our teaching in USA, in California. But I was pleased to meet John Anthony West, who was a Pythagorist number person, and he was very influenced by Swole de Lubitz, who have decoded Egypt. So I went down there and I was sitting in the temple of Luxor days after days after days. I was there for 3 weeks, first time alone. And John helped me to be able to be there in the mornings alone in the whole temple. So we paid some money and arranged that I could go inside. And I was occupied by that. And then actually it started to work on me. The temple kind of, if you're if you're able to be there on your own, the temple is working on you like a library, like a like a big
Library?
book. Yeah, library. Yeah, and it starts to work on you, and I started to activate more and more in my body, and that's after that I went out in the woods 1,500 days, and I did my fire camp. I was out for 3-4 hours in the snow, and I was sitting there completely silent, and I did my inner work, and I went through all 9 until I got it in my body. And then I went to the city every Wednesday, and I was teaching and teaching what I knew. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool.
So let's go back to the history of 9 life energies. You were talking now about your teachers as well. So who came up with this? And even more important question, why haven't I, like before 2 years, haven't heard of this before? I know you're talking about this in the documents, but I believe that the listeners also would love to hear it.
Well, Alan Sheets and his wife were studying the Enneagram, which is a personality system with 9 types. And he wondered at a certain point, is there a physical aspect to this? And so then he worked with groups of people for 4 years to determine that there was physical aspect and that there were 9 ways of being, of holding one's body and finding effortless strength in that position. And then he started teaching it. And so he called it, first he called it Enneagram of the Body, and then he called it New Equations, he and his wife. And and that's the training that Morton and I joined, along with our colleague, Susan Fisher in Montana. And
Martin Fisher, the husband.
Martin Fisher, her husband, together, both of them have done a lot of research and have come out with 2 books and a third on the way. And she took what we learned further in terms of noticing the differences among the 9 type in terms of people's bodies and in terms of people's faces and expressions. And that your energy type over time shapes your body. And this is why identical twins, when they're children, they look the same. But as they get older and older, they look more and more different because they have different energies shaping their bodies and their faces.
Yeah, so Susan and Martin, they did something very cool. They went to Burning Man, which is a gathering in the desert. And in the desert, they don't use very much clothes because it's hot and it's dusty and it's a big show. And that's what they do there. And they had a stand, and they were able to work with up to 1,000 people every event. They were there for some years. And one of the things that they did, because people were almost naked, was they were able to recognize that, for example, the collarbone with trees have higher shoulders. Collarbone and shoulders are different than any other types. And they started to recognize this more detailed body patterns in each of the 9. And that was very, very helpful. So acknowledgement to Susan and Martin Fisher, because they have done a lot of research to figure out and move this work on.
Right. No, significantly. I learned a lot from Susan. I went and visited them and attended some of their workshops with them. And Morton was there with a crew from Norway. Was that 2017, I think?
Yeah, it was before
COVID. Yeah.
COVID.
And so why haven't you heard of it? Because our teachers wrote things, but they only distributed it to their students. And now those things they distributed are available on their website, but Susan's work is far more potent and informational than what they had given us, way back when in the early 2000s.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's more details and more understandable. And I think it's part of the progress and process of getting this into the world. That my understanding of is that there needs to be different schools and different classes and different ways of teaching. I think if we were teaching the same ritual all over the world, it will be very it can't happen because people are different. So I have an approach which comes from my life energy 3, and Paulo has an approach which comes from his 7 energy, and Susan and Martin has an approach which comes from 5 and 6 together. And now you are here, Marina, and your impact will change our direction because you're a 2. And then we have Casper, who is a 5, who's helping us a lot, and he asks all these questions. And my son is a 5. He's incredible smart, and he read things, and he said in a very nice way, it's good job, Dad and Paulo, but I have some questions. So it's very helpful. And now we also have a community with dedicated students here in Norway, which really dedicated students, which are their energy has an influence on our teaching. And that's what we are doing here in Norway. I think it's very important to say that I'm not deleting myself. I will still be there out on this stage and talk about this and do this. But I see that we get more and more people in a higher dimension of the understanding of this work, and they start to give back so much knowledge that brings us forward. And it's important. This method is about the 9 life energies. It's not about me or Paulo or Susan or our teachers or Martin or whoever is there. It's not about that. This is not, nobody owns it.
Right.
Nobody owns it.
And from your conversations with John Anthony West, he believed that the ancient Egyptians had the 9 life energies. Is that right?
Yeah. So he believed that, and John was bringing over a lot of Gurdjieff students and Enneagram Institute students, and I was happy to be there with him because I traveled for many years to Egypt alone and with John, and there were students from different I will say different schools of this work, from the Enneagram Institute and from Gurdjieff work, which is a different way of seeing it again. And John was very clear that they knew this in the old kingdom of Egypt, and they used it. They used it to build things. They used those who have the gift to do architect, mathematics. Some people are really good to do things beautiful, painting. And so there were different energies that did different things. That's the old belief of this.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
So there are 9 types of people. And let's talk more about the teaching and learning process. So we should see. I would love to see very soon, because I'm so impatient, but to see, why can't I see the difference between all the 9 types of people?
Well, because it hasn't been something you were taught to do when you were young. And it hasn't been a thing in the culture that would, be part of common knowledge, although someday it could be part of common knowledge. And then people will just see someone walking down the street and they say, oh, that's a 2 over there. And so there's the way we walk, you'd have to like learn how the different numbers walk and what are the differences. Morton and I were in Mallorca, you were there, and we were on a beach somewhere, and we watched this maybe an 11-year-old, 12-year-old girl walking on the beach. And Morton said, I think she's a 9. And I said, I think so too. And it was because of how far back her elbows went when she was walking. Her arms swung so far back, much further back than any of us three would walk. We wouldn't walk that way. But a 9 walks with their arms going back, and they stand often with their elbows further back than we would. It's a subtle thing, and it might not always show up in every 9 because they might have been told to stand a certain way or have a certain posture. They may have some trauma, and so they hide their nature. And so some people, it's very, very difficult to see what their number is. And even when we work with people, sometimes it's very, very difficult because in that space, when you're working with someone and you make the connection and you invite them into the connection, if they have trauma, it could feel like I am not supposed to let this part of me out. I'm not supposed to be fully authentic in this way because it could be dangerous. Mm. And so then it's really hard to know what their type is. And then we have to say, okay, we're not sure. And it could be because we're distracted also. I mean, I'm not going to put it on just because someone shows up and I can't figure out, or I don't know, I don't experience their life energy. It's like, it could be that Paulo is not in the right space to do this today. Mm. And so it's not, there's a lot of factors in identifying someone. Susan's book, especially I think her second book, goes through a lot of the features in the face and in the body. And, she'll say that 7, so I'm a 7, have a thickening around the brow area that you can see on a side view. But that thickening could actually be a genetic factor in a whole family. And so that, and then they all seem to have that. Well, they're not all 7s. And so sometimes it's clear and sometimes it's not clear.
Another very important thing to bring in, Marina, is that's what Paulo says is we haven't been taught this from where we were young, but at the same time, we have it inside of us. So you know it, but you haven't had enough time to be with it. And that means that you need, actually, if you're going to teach this, if you're going to learn this, you need to be able to be with teachers or have teachers who can help you to awaken the 9 life energies in the body. It's like you don't know how to bike before you have been biking. And you don't know how it is to climb in trees before you've been climbing. And it can be very dangerous to bike and very dangerous to climb in trees. But if you have somebody who can help you in the beginning, so you can trust the process of learning to see something new or to climb in top of a tree without being scared to fall down, then you will start to learn. But you need to climb in 9 different trees. You need to bike 9 different bikes. Yes. You need to, that's the thing. It's not enough to swim in one river. You have to have difference because they are so different. It's like 9 different worlds.
You can have 9 different teachers that will teach different things.
And that's what we see. So I'm influenced by my own energy, and I understand it. And my teachers, my first, were influenced by themselves, and Paul are, and you are. So we need the 9 life energies. And now when we are working in our school system or teaching system, or call it whatever you want, we are doing our best to bring it out in the world. What we do is that I'm using those who are content, as Paulo said, like Susan and Martin, and have it in their body, and I use them to help the others. Because even if I want, and even if I have been training for 25 years, I still can't do 7 like Paulo can do. I can't. Even if I get it, I understand it, I can change my whole being into becoming a 7 if I use a lot of, exercises that's related to his energy, and I hold the postures, but I'm still not a 7. That's why we need each other.
And yet, if you have a parent that's a 7 and you want to be like that parent, when we identify you, we might think you're a 7. Even though, or we might think, are you a 7 or are you this number? Because your natural energy, your life energy will show up, but this other energy that you've emulated for years will show up. And so it's like you're practiced in another energy. So we have to like work with that as well.
Yes.
So that's another reason why sometimes it's difficult to see, because someone's practicing. I've taken dance lessons from different instructors. And I remember this one instructor would say, when you lead, you're always leading from your lower abdomen. Everything comes from there. Well, I watched this guy and it's like, he's a 4. And that's the area of the body for 4. And then I had another teacher who would say, you have to tighten the towel, as if there's a towel from the lower abdomen right up to your neck. And you're wringing the towel and you're holding your body up, straight up and down. And I think she was a 7. And she held her body like that and she bobbed her head, but it's like that was her thing.
Yeah.
And her husband wouldn't talk about that because he was a 2. And he taught, and they taught together, but they had different ways of teaching. So it depends. There's if someone knows how to do something, and they're a teacher, they'll often say, do it this way because this is how I do it. And they'll think that it's universal if they don't understand there's at least 9 different ways.
And also remember that bringing this knowledge out in the world is a transformation process. And transformation process doesn't have regular time and space. It's like this. Our teachers, the beginners of this work, or not the beginners, the authority of this work, they were able to figure it out. They were struggling to teach it.
Yeah.
Okay, then we were struggling to learn it. Then we struggled less. So we were using, I think Paul used 20, well, how many years did you use? 18, 17, 16?
I was in training for 13 years. You were in it for 9. Susan was in it for 10. I stayed a few years longer.
Yeah, and it took some years before you were able to do it on your own, okay? And then we saw with our first Thomas Gröning, the 8, he was certificated got his certification in Mallorca last year. He used, I think, 8 years. And then we have Un Buvar, and she used 8-9 years, about same timing, and me and Polo about same time. It's maybe 1 or 2 years in between, but that's in the big picture it's nothing. It's about 20 years, and they are used about. And now we start to see that new people learn it maybe 3-4 years, maybe later it's only 2 years.
And it
And it's
could be months
information. Yeah,
someday.
go on.
It could be months for someday for some
Yeah,
people.
could be months, because we all get better and better to teach it and receive it and give it, and people are changing and get more interested in it. So it could be a couple of years.
Right.
That's what I
It's-
believe.
It's somewhat like if you look at the Olympics and you go back years, it was like there was a world record in, let's say, broad jump, and it was a certain number of meters. And then it just kept getting further and further out. And then at some point they actually changed, oh no, they changed the rules for another event, for the what's the one where they throw the spear? What do they call that? Javelin. So for that one, people were getting better and better at it. And then they had to change the javelin itself and make it heavier, because people were going to throw it into the stands.
Yeah.
And so they had to, limit how far someone could throw it by making it heavier. But even then, people kept doing it better and better and better. So the more
Yeah.
people do something, in general, for humanity, people get better at it.
Yes.
So
in climbing, there is a person called Alex Honnold. He is a life energy tree, by the way, and he was climbing up a place called El Capitan, which is a very difficult mountain in
California.
USA. Yeah, in California, and they used 5-6 months with ropes in the beginning. Then there was somebody who were able to do it with rope in 1 week. It was just incredible.
Yeah.
And he
it
did
is.
it in a few hours without ropes.
Crazy.
He used ropes.
Crazy.
It's crazy. So that's the evolution of human beings.
Yes.
Yeah, we can accomplish.
Yeah. Okay.
And
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions, so I believe we have still time, and I can keep asking you. You know what? I found it so fascinating to watch you, Paolo, or you, Morten, or Thomas, or Un, that you have been mentioned, like I call it, on the stage in the middle of the circle, and I always been like interested. What what do you experience? What is going you through in your body and your mind? So can you explain the process of identifying a person's life energy? What are the key aspects one needs to observe?
I guess it's different for different people. I would try to do it like I was taught by our teacher, original teacher. And I think Morten the same, and even Susan. But I'm a physically smaller person than all of them. And I'm older, and I don't have the same body strength. So I had to find a new way to identify people, and I had to experience it in my body, experience them through my body by doing what I was originally taught. Instead of doing it in a significant way, I had to do it in a subtle way. I had to connect with people in a subtle way. And instead of, when I got them in the right posture and got them to have the effortless strength, our teachers would push very, very hard. And originally they were using physical force. And then you'd experience that, okay, I'm not moving, I can hold my ground, but it could be uncomfortable. And that was originally. And, I don't want to do that. And it would hurt my body to do that. I remember trying to do that work working with eights, trying to push an 8.
Mm.
And so I have to like get in the posture of 8 and then push on them. And they're better at doing 8 than I am. And I would actually hurt myself trying to move them to get them to really feel their power, their effortless power, but it wasn't good for my body to do it that way. So what I discovered is if I spend more time with them, they can experience that strength without me pushing really hard. They start to feel and be with that authentic power within them. And they don't just have to have it confirmed by their experience. Like, are you really pushing on me? Wow, that's interesting. They experience it in what we call a swirl of energy. It's like our energies connect and they get this exhilarating feeling. And there might be hardly any pressure between the hands at all. It might be like this, or it might be like that, but it's not like, and it's not necessary to get that exhilaration if you stay with someone long enough and they experience their authenticity, as long as I can stay authentic. You want to say more?
Yeah, because I was opposite. I was super strong in my body and exercised a lot, so I was using too much force in that way. I didn't have that issue to hurt myself, but I probably hurt others by pushing too hard. So that was the very beginning for me. So I had to rearrange my whole being to be able to feel. I used many years to be able to start to feel something else, that feelings, and it's not a sensation, and it's not about the head, and it's not about the heart. For me, it's about the connection from my inner being with that person, and I'm creating that atmosphere, first of all, in myself to be able to do it. And then I'm able to be aligned with myself and if I can't be aligned with myself, I can't be in alignment with them. So there's, think of it as a line. Just a second, there is somebody want to go into the grid here. Okay, boom, yeah. That's because I'm living in the woods, and if my friend comes, I need to open the gate. And
That's okay.
The gate. Okay, so and I think that's how I want to explain is I need to create that very nice atmosphere in myself. And then I am an invitation for them to walk over and be with. They want to be together with me. If they don't want to be together with me, I don't work with them. And that I can feel that in myself. And that alignment is so important, because those two first steps is super important, because you need to create a line with that person where you don't have any kind of disturbance in yourself. And then that lifts them up in their full potential as human beings, and they connect with you, because this is something we do together. You can't do it alone. And in that swirl, which Paulo is talking about, which we can talk a lot about how we got there, something else is happening, and new energy is coming into the world, or there is a creation process happening. Like there has to be a man and a woman to make a child, and it has to be two people to create new energy. And when two people meet, they get into a state of being where the soul are connecting with each other, and it's a energy that is so much faster than the brain and the feelings and the sensation, that it's like we are having a line with no disturbance, and we really understand each other, and we get into a place which we can call unconditional love without using our mind.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I really love this unconditional mind, like you said, without using your mind, because like I can talk for myself, my mind is really filled up with a lot of stuff. So how can me or other people train to get into this statement?
Mm.
Mm.
Well, you have to work on yourself and get in your body. And for me, when I first learned about this, even though I had been a therapist for 20 years, I was more in my head than in my body. And there was reasons for that in my childhood, different traumas that I wasn't aware of. You know, our teachers would come up to me and they'd say, "You can't figure this out. You know, it's not about your head. It's not about thinking." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" Because for me, everything was about thinking and studying and analyzing. And it took a while for me to say, "Okay, I'll trust you that I can't figure it out because I haven't been able to figure it out." But I had to get to that place, like, I guess I can't figure this out. And but I stayed in their program for 13 years because every time I went, I got more and more in my body.
Yes.
Every training I went to, I got more and more in my body. And then I understood, okay, I have to practice this. I have to be in my body and I have to practice being in my body. And I mean, as recently as when we were in Lovund, which was that 2.5 years ago? Maybe not even.
Yes. Mm.
And no, just 2 years ago.
2, yeah.
Yeah. And even this past June, I was identifying people and I realized I can't identify this person because I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Like I was in my head. So I had to stop and start again and get back in my body and push the thoughts out and just be present. And so learning how to be present with yourself is it can be a challenge. You know, for people who are gymnasts or dancers, it's like I'll watch them and it's like that person is in their body. They are in their body. They are brilliantly in their bodies. And their training brings them there. Now, they might not know about 9 life energies, but they know about their bodies, which is very different than me. It took me years, decades to get in my body. And
Well, you see, you're asking a questions, Marina, which is very important. And you're asking a question that I can explain it and Paula can explain it, but you don't know it before you have done it. That's the mystery.
Yeah.
This is the mystery of this work. Because I can say there is a surrendering of control. You need to give up yourself, I can say, but we don't give up ourselves at the same time.
give up control.
No, we don't. We just give up the control. I am controlling a lot of things. I'm controlling my car when I drive. I'm controlling my economy. I'm controlling my food intake, and I'm controlling my sleeping routines, and I'm controlling all kinds of things. But I can't control this. I needed to give up myself and find a new way of being and be able to hold that so I can be in touch and receive the mystery. It's not something you get, it's something you receive. because your mind is free. It's not, again, it's not a feeling, it's not a sensation, it's not head, it's not heart. It's just something else, which I think is everything at once. And it's not that I'm not thinking, but I'm not thinking about any kind that can disturb the situation. And this, I think this is the trigger in this work, that they see that we do something that they want to learn, but they don't know how to learn it, and learn it. And we know we can learn it if the student can stop being in control of the process. And they have to, we have seen it in Una and Thomas, they had to let go of something that they believed so strongly was the reason why they should learn it. And finally, when they let that go, they were able to learn it. And see it in you, Marina, we see it in others. And it doesn't matter if I tell you. It really doesn't matter if I tell you. The only thing that matters is that you are up in the morning, do your meditation, your postures, and let the natural process help you to receive the gift of the mystery.
Yeah.
Of course, we have a kind of recipe. It's like you're making a dinner, and a very good chef know how to cook the dinner. So he say, this is the amount of salt, this is the amount of meat or whatever he's going to put into the stew or whatever he's going to make. So you have a chance to make something good. So we have a recipe, and if we go through the recipe, it's not enough to use one of them. That's why it was so many different mystery schools in Egypt. You have to learn to cook with open flame. Then you have to learn to cook with gas. Then you have to learn to cook with only steam in the oven. Then you have to learn to cook in another heating system. So you have to learn it in different ways. There is no way. There is not my way or Susan or my old teachers or Polo's way. That's just completely stupid. There is no way. But we have some recipes you can try out. And one of the recipes we are talking about here in the document is that there is an invitation where we truly create a deep connection with another person because we have that atmosphere in our body, as I was talking about. There is a recipe where you learn to use your breath. So the space in between the in-breath and out-breath is the space where things are happening. It's the space in between.
Yeah.
We do know that in the space in between, there is a swirl, which Paulo has been, really writing about and talking about, and it's just amazing, but it's not enough. It's just not enough. We learned that we need to let go of feelings. We had a incredible, nice Japanese woman called Shika, and she was teaching us which we call, I couldn't say it in English, I call it under below, to get under your feelings so you get neutral to be able to be with another person. Then we had another person again, and Namiko, she was a 9, and the Ichiko Ichi, which means this present moment is the most precious thing that's happening in your life. Yeah. And every moment is different. It will never get back to you. And she teaches us, she was able to learn that through tea ceremonies. See?
Yeah.
I spent 1,500 days in the mountain, in the woods, creating a campfire to be able to create a natural way of steps like the nature to learn this. So what we are writing in the document here, we say that there are 5 elements you need to, not need, but it will be good if you understood them, because they will help you, maybe easier than we have been teaching before. Maybe it's an easier way. We don't know yet because we haven't tried it out, except from ourselves. We have tried it out on ourselves. And this is the thing that's going to happen from tomorrow is in the new, not in the new class, but in the class, is that we're going to present these ideas, and then we will see what's happening, because this is a different way again to learn, which we think is a little bit more convenient and easier, because we're using less force, more breath, more body, more embodiment. Embodiment is incredibly important.
Yes.
And then it is okay to mess up in your life, and you should. I think one of the problems here is that people are trying to learn this, want to do this 24/7. They want to be so conscious that they have this stamp in their forehead, brain, that I'm so conscious. So they don't have time to relax. You need to have fun. Life is life. Everything is about life. And this is another process which gives you a deeper understanding of life. And you need to have fun. You need to relax. And it needs to be a nice, good feeling to learn this. And that's what we're
So
talking
true.
about. Yeah.
And I remember you told us also about Wu Wei. It means doing without doing. And I remember when we were at your house, and you were like missing your hat on the floor, and then you were picking up without picking it up. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, we both, Paul and I, we can
Yes.
talk about, because we are both, I think I can say we are students of Taoism or Tao Te Ching. And there's many reasons why we were introduced for the Taoism, the Tao Te Ching, by our teachers. I was writing a book for 5 years, translated it. Paulo is going really deep into it, and he was able to find probably the most perfect translation so far that we know about. What's the name again?
Derek Lin.
Derek Lin, yeah. So I believe that Taoism or Tao Te Ching is important to understand what Wu Wei is, because Wu Wei, you can say it's no force, but it can't be force too. It doesn't mean that you're using muscle. It's another muscles. I mean, it's another force. It's not that it's not a force, because it is a force, but you are not doing anything at the same time as you are doing it. So it means that if you, for the best example I know about is that when I go for a walk for 30 days, which I have done many times as a pilgrim, the first week is terrible. It's a lot of struggle. The mind is struggling about food and where to sleep and so on. And the walking it's just not nice, because the shoes and and I'm thinking about my bills, and I'm thinking about my family I left. And after 2 weeks, it's getting a little bit better, but I get tired. After 3 weeks, I'm not tired anymore, and I'm walking longer distance than I did in the beginning. After 4 weeks, I don't think about it. I just walk. That's Wu Wei.
It's a really great way to explain it.
It's it's something that exists, and it connects humanity. And it's probably responsible for our intuition. It, but we can't control it. We have to be still for it to show up. And Martin, you had mentioned the space in between the inhale and the exhale. It's actually, because I noticed we wrote it that way in the document, and then the most recent one I changed it to, it's the space between the exhale and the inhale. Because when we exhale, it's like we let go. And we don't need to inhale right away unless we're running. But if you're just sitting here and you take a breath in and then you let it go, there's a space before you take another breath. And that's a space of stillness. And it's in that space of stillness that if we wait, you don't stop breathing, but this is the analogy of that space. We have to wait and be patient for something to show up in the stillness. And that's an impulse or an intuitive message to do something.
So in the identification process, Marina, which Paulo, when he's talking about Wu Wei, so when we are standing in front of a person, we don't push anymore. We receive the energy of the other person and we just meet it. There is no push anymore from me and Paulo, except from when we do some kind of exercises, training to do other things. But in the identification process, we don't push anymore. We just hold our hands. If we go deeply into 4, which life energy 4, which is the lower abdomen, you just hold your hands and suddenly you feel that they are pushing against you. After 1 minute, 2 minutes, and they like it, and you meet it, and they like it, and it feels like a push, but it's not. It's just two things leaning into each other with no force, and they meet, and then something happens. That's the Wu Wei.
Very, very good and very good explanation. It helps me to understand more, and I hope for our listeners as well. Is there something else in the document you want to highlight? You want that we bring out here for our listeners? We will have the document when you are finished, so we will have it on our website, so you can download on the ninelifeenergies.com. But before that, is there something juice you want, like, for listeners to understand, to remember, to make
I want to
just
say
get
something.
essence?
Yeah, I really want to say something more about this receiving, which is the biggest struggle for everybody, actually, to be able to receive the energy. It's easy to engage and inspire and get in connection with it, but to be able to receive it, there is something happening, which is probably the reason why I'm doing this, is that then I get the teaching. That's the teacher. Wu Wei is the teacher. It's not my teachers anymore. It's not me. And it's not you. And it's not Paulo or anybody else. There is a teacher that's flowing through the Wu Wei energy, that's teaching us everything we need to know about this. And that happens only when you don't know anything. You are in the unknown, you're in the unknowable state of being, and you just receive information through those you are working with. That's where the teacher are. That's the teaching. I think that's the main thing here. So call it the flow, the spirit in the moment, or names, but everybody who have experience know what I'm talking about. And you don't need to do 9 life energies to do this. You can do it in Aikido, or you can do it in rituals, or you can do it in climbing in trees. But if you want to receive information through the soul from another human being, so you can learn something about another human being, then you have to do this.
And in the process of learning this, you're going to find something in the way. Some resistance or some emergence of a feeling or an attitude. And then you just have to notice it. And it probably comes from the past. And it possibly could be something that needs healing or just working through. You know, I talk with Morton once to 4 times a week. And the other day I was talking to him about, I had a bad attitude towards someone. And I said, well, I have to apologize to let go of this attitude because it was judgment. It was just like, what is that about? And it was really about me judging me and projecting that on this other person. And it's like, okay, I had to realize that and then look at, so why would I judge myself? And so then I had to let go of that, you know, understand that and let go of that. And then yesterday I was talking to someone and she said, why are you so kind in letting me off the hook on this? And I said, because you're doing the best. Yeah, but how did you get there? And I said, well, I had to learn to be kind to myself. And then I could be kind to other people. And once in a while, I'm not kind to myself, or I'm not kind to somebody else. And, you know, so it's a lifelong process of getting better, of doing better, of being better. And, you know, I get in my head and there'll be judgments. If I stay in my body, and the judgments can just flow away or become less important and then insignificant. And then it can be like, why was I thinking that? Like, that's silly to think that.
So, I think you need to like to change, because transformation is moment by moment, everyday life. It will never stop, because there is no time in transformation. Transformation is a process from you breathe in the first breath when you get born and until the last breath when you die, and probably something else is happening. I don't know, because I haven't tried that. But I'm trying to live, and I'm doing my best to tell myself that everything is information, and I'm getting really happy when people tell me things and I'm listening to them. If somebody has something to tell me that I can change. And Paul does it a lot with me, and he can do it because I'm able to receive it and say, you shouldn't do that, Morten. And I say, thank you. I will not work on it, but I will do something about it.
Yeah.
And if you don't like that, you think you know things, you think you're the best, you think you're the main teacher, you think, and then you have lost yourself. I don't know very much about this work, but I believe that 5-6 generations down the road, they will know a lot, or at least a lot more than I did. And that's why I'm doing this. Another very weird thing, Marina said, I don't care about anything when I work with this. I don't care about you, but I care about you. But I don't care what you do or not do, or say, or if I'm right or if I'm wrong, if I do it right. I really don't care.
So you're not attached.
I'm not attached. That's another way to see it. But I am really caring.
Yes.
It's good you're saying it.
Yeah, of course. I like you. I love you. You are like my, I don't know, my sister, daughter, or whatever we call it. And I like to help you because you want help. But I don't care if you do something wrong or right. Even if you do something right, I don't care.
You're not attached to it.
Yeah, I'm not attached to it.
People can misunderstand that. So
Let's
we
clear
learn
it
this
up.
in our coaching to not be attached, our coaching training, because we both went through the same training, to not be attached to the outcome. We have an intention. So Morten and I both intend that you're going to learn this.
It's 2:00.
And yet at the same time, we're not attached to a deadline. And if you say, I'm going to take a break and not do this for a while, we're not attached. We know, well, what's going to happen? We're not attached. Let's wait.
And you know, obstacles is the way. You know, there has been so many obstacles, Marina, to bring this out, and you know, the ego gets in our way, and people try to stop me, and
yeah,
all kinds of you know, I receive letters from whoever it is. I don't want to say anything about who it is because I don't care, but and I just look at it and I move on.
yeah.
Many people have tried to stop me. I don't know why they tried to stop me, but I just look at it and I say, okay, so I must be on the right track because they care so much about what I do.
Yeah. So if someone wants to learn about this and they want to transform, or they want to learn about this and they don't want to transform, well, if they stay wanting to learn about it, it will transform them. And you know, if you pursue learning, it's going to transform you. And there's no prediction of way to predict how it will transform you. It could change your relationship with your occupation. It could change your relationship with different people. You could set up a boundary around someone, or the way they treat you at work, or the way someone treats you, and then they get really upset. And then you have to like hold that boundary. And so, but there's no predicting what you will discover along your transformational path. There's no way to predict it. It's stepping into the unknown. Transformation is like, you know, I'm going on this hike in this mountain and there's no path, but I'm going to make my own path. You don't know where you're going to show up, or where you're going to end up. But that's the way it is. There was one other thing I wanted to say. Not knowing where you are, transformation. Well, maybe that's enough.
I have something very important. I believe it's important because you wrote it, Paulo. That's why it's super important. And why is this idea of seeing 9 different types of people important? And I think we can end this conversation today with that. And I want to read those 2 first sentences that you wrote, Paulo, because I want to honor you. I want to say thank you. I want to let people know how important you are for this work with your capacity to twist the words and get it in the right way. So 9 life energies anchors us in reality. That's the embodiment principle. As social beings, human connections are the most important things in our lives. Unfortunately, in today's world, we are bombarded with continually with the newest and most novel disembodying distractions. 9 life energies delivers a platform and practice for creating personal embodiment and deep, meaningful relationships. And that helps us to transform our lives. Paulo,
I want to talk about that. I did want it. That was the other thing.
Yeah.
That
There's something more. It's super important.
Yeah, this is important. And you wrote about it in an email yesterday. You touched on it as well. And it's about the bombardment of information and sensations through digital media and eventually through AI. The possibilities are enormous. And at the same time, it's likely that people will develop what they think is a relationship, like a love relationship with an artificial intelligence, but they're not going to have the experience of that swirl of energy of the other person's body that the other person's body gives off. It's like there's this energy of life that we have. I don't think an AI is going to have a life energy, a
No.
life energy. I don't know how that would occur. Maybe someday, but right now, what they're developing now is just going to distract people and
So our
out of
teaching,
their body.
yeah, I want to put in some. So our teaching platform have changed. Well, we had the COVID period where we were only teaching online programs. And now we're teaching online programs, and we do meditation in the morning at 6 o'clock with groups of people. And then we meet together where we put away the phone and we can be together with no distractions. And my dear, dear friend, Lena, she is a 7 too. My love of my life. I call her my love of my life. And she has a very beautiful mind, and she's reading a lot, and she's taking a lot of information in, like Polo is doing. And she is talking about being able to be with each other without any interference, there is no distractions. So that clear line I was talking about is something that has to do, which I told about, with the alignment. It's not being aligned with yourself, but being aligned with the people that you have around you. So there is a clear channel of information that goes back and forth, and that will help us to develop as human beings. And that's not AI or YouTube or whatever. It's a human experience of energy.
Mm. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Morten. Thank you, Marina. We can do this again.
We can do this again. There is a lot more to talk about. So this is a good start. I'm looking forward. And next week we have an event in the woods where we put away the phones and we're going to practice this. So I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. And before we wrap up, I would like to dive into a real crucial topic. And it's pizza. As you told in this podcast, we have to have fun as well. And I know sometimes I can be really serious, but now it's time for fun. And I would love to have this like a tradition. So let's talk about pizza. I know you have an oven outside, and pizza is for you, Morten, and now getting for me as well. That's why I had to make these questions as well for you guys, like really quickly at the end.
Yep.
So, Paolo, what's your go-to pizza topping?
So there's a restaurant in my town that has the best veggie pizza.
Okay.
They put so many vegetables on it, all different kinds of toppings. And because I'm lactose intolerant, I tell them no cheese or just a little Parmesan.
Mhm.
And because they put so many vegetables on it and they put a good amount of tomato sauce. It's delicious. And when I share a piece with my friends, because I get I get the pizza, we go out there and it's like, I can't eat this whole pizza in one meal. So I share it and they go, that tastes pretty good. So I have to, I mean, I love the taste of cheese, but as I get older, it's like it's more and more problematic for my digestive system. So
I
that's
see.
me.
Cool. Sounds interesting. What
When
about
you
you,
come, I'll
Martin?
tell you. You
Yes,
might come in
I
here.
was waiting for this reply.
We will go to that restaurant.
Cool. I'm excited.
The question again, Marina?
The
Your
question is,
favorite.
what's your go-to pizza topping?
Oh, the topping.
Yeah.
I love to make the truffle pizza where I bike down to the city. I go to a special store from Italy and I buy this truffle, which costs a little bit more than normal thing costs in the shop. But you can only use one, you can use only a spoon, so it's not so expensive. I put that together with creme fraiche, lactose-free creme fraiche, of course, when Paulo is here. And then I do onions, I grill the onions and garlic together with some olive oil. And I put that on, and I have a little bit of cheese, and then Parmesan. And I need to include something more because the bread is so important. I have a sourdough, and have that basis which I use, and I have had it now, and I got it from a good friend, Richard. He's a one, by the way, and he have been working with that for 4 or 5 years, and I got a new liquid from him half a year ago, and I take very good care of it, and it's amazing.
Your pizza.
No.
You say Morton's Pizza is the best.
Yes, totally agree.
When I come there in September, I'm looking forward to having some pizza. And I thought you were going to say truffles, and you were even picking some truffles the last time I was there.
There was some truffles. That's what we do in Italy, but it was vad heter den soppen som är kantarell?
Oh, cantarelles. That's
Yeah, I pick blueberry cantarelles and all kinds of nice things here in the woods where I live. So sometimes I put that on that. When you get in here in September, we will go out in the woods and pick some mushrooms and put it on.
Cool. I'm excited already. Yes. Thank you very much. I will make some more questions for you. I hope really we can do it at least one more time. No, more podcasts so we can dig in more about 9 life energies. I hope and I believe for me, I can tell it's very, very useful. It's very, and for be with you guys sitting here and listen to you, it's very, very interesting, and I hope it's going through my body as well, not only my head. So thank you so much. I appreciate time bringing with you, and I hope the listeners will do the same.
Thank you, Marina, for holding this space for us and making this an energetic time.
Very good. Thank you so much, Marina. Very nice work.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
So I'm going to stay